At this rate, if Divine Lord Peacock did not escape, he would definitely die. Hanju looked up. Sweeping his sage sense through the 33rd heaven, he discovered that all the sages had gone to the Universal Hall. He was relieved. He flashed into the Universal Hall and all the sages gathered. Heavenly Venerate Xiandu said, Pan Xin has returned. He should be on the Heavenly Dao side. Previously, he had been hunted down and suppressed by Jinshan. If he's willing to protect the Heavenly Dao, this matter has to be resolved. Jinshan was the ancient master of calamity. The sages discussed this matter. Hanju only listened and didn't say anything. He also learned about Pan Xin and Jinshan's past. Jinshan was one of the Dao ancestor's disciples. Back then, when the Dao ancestor first preached after attaining the Dao, Jinshan had also participated. As the calamity increased, the Dao ancestor conferred Jinshan as the master of calamity, meaning to maintain the order of the calamity. The calamity also had rules. For example, after the calamity began, living beings outside the Heavenly Dao were not allowed to enter. Pan Xin was Pangu's descendant. After he entered the calamity, he would not encounter heavenly punishment, so he always acted recklessly. Jinshan had no choice but to take action. As time passed, the two of them formed a grudge that could not be resolved. Now that Pan Xin had risen, Jinshan was only at the perfected pseudo-sage realm. How could he be his match? When Pan Xin entered the Heavenly Dao, he would definitely threaten the sages to hand over Jinshan. Hanju also learned that the reason why Jinshan targeted Pan Xin was because of the other sages. Pan Xin used to be fearless and didn't even care about sages. He often said bad things about sages and offended them. The South Extreme Heavenly Venerate, Sect Master Tianju, Chou Shilai, and Emperor Shao had all schemed against him. After arguing for a long time, the sages finally decided to see Pan Xin's attitude. If he really wanted revenge, they could only hand over Jinshan. Hanju had no objections to this. If he was Pan Xin, he would also think of a way to crush Jinshan. Otherwise, he would be unhappy. After the conversation ended, Hanju returned to the 100-peak Immortal River to continue cultivating. Subconsciously glancing at Xinghongxian, he suddenly froze. Xinghongxian was meditating and cultivating, but she did not notice the situation in her body. Hanju saw that the fetus was posing in the womb. Its movements slowly changed as if it was cultivating egg. This posture. Hanju widened his eyes. Wasn't this the action of Pan Xin swinging his axe? But how did he see it? Even the pseudo-sages in the Heavenly Dao could not spy on the battle between Pan Xin and Divine Lord Peacock. Was this the primordial Fian Celestial's talent? Why don't I have it? Hanju hesitated. No matter what, it was a good thing that his son was talented. In any case, this kid was still being nurtured. It was unknown when he would be born. Hanju shook his head and continued cultivating. 2,000 years passed. Hanju opened his eyes. He was already close to breaking through. He could break through it at most 1,000 years. More than 30,000 years had passed since his last breakthrough. Time passed really quickly. Hanju looked over. Divine Lord Peacock had already escaped and Pan Xin was still recuperating in the dark forbidden zone. Hanju checked the emails and saw one. Your good friend Divine Lord Peacock was attacked by your good friend Pan Xin and was severely injured. Hanju couldn't help but mourn for Divine Lord Peacock. Ever since he met Hanju, Divine Lord Peacock seemed to have been very unlucky. Could this fellow also treat Pan Xin as the Dark Forbidden Lord's disciple? Amused, Hanju immediately sent him a dream. In the dream, Divine Lord Peacock saw him and remained silent. Hanju didn't say anything. The atmosphere was awkward. After a long while, Divine Lord Peacock snorted. What supreme treasure is your disciple using? After being defeated by Xin, he almost felt depressed, but he quickly blamed the defeat on the heaven-opening axe. Xin was not his match, but the heaven-opening axe was too strong. Hanju said, "Heaven-opening axe." Divine Lord Peacock's pupils suddenly dilated. The connate supreme treasure of giant god Pangu? I see. That makes sense. Then, are you convinced? 1111. Divine Lord Peacock was silent. He was actually not convinced. He pinched his fingers and calculated Xin. He couldn't figure it out. Now that Hanju admitted it and even said the name of that Dharma treasure, it meant that Xin was really his disciple. Damn it! Divine Lord Peacock was extremely aggrieved. He had always wanted to challenge the Dark Forbidden Lord and even brought the karma beads so that the other party couldn't curse him. In the end, before he could really see the Dark Forbidden Lord, he was defeated by his disciple. He had been invincible in his life and was almost invincible in the same realm. In the end, above the Great Tao Sage realm is the Great Tao Supreme realm. Above that is the Tao Creator realm. Do you know how insignificant the Freedom realm is now? Divine Lord Peacock was silent as waves surged in his mind. He thought that a Great Tao Sage was the strongest existence. He didn't expect there to be two levels above. He had never heard of them. Hanju said meaningfully, "My goal is not the heavenly Tao or the deity realm of the ruins of End, but a higher level. I can't tell you for the time being. The reason why I'm looking for you is not because of your strength, but because I like your future. One day, you will understand that all the disputes today are child's play. When the true Great Tao immeasurable calamity descends, the heavenly Tao and the deity realm of the ruins of End won't be able to take care of themselves. What Great Tao Sage? Just cannon fodder. The strongest can destroy 3,000 Great Tao with a flip of their hand. Those who aren't eternal can't escape the immeasurable karma. Those transcendent existences can turn your cognitive world into nothingness with a thought." Hanju's words were extremely domineering, as if he was a Tao creator. Divine Lord Peacock was shocked. He suddenly felt very small. Divine Lord Peacock's favorability towards you has increased. Current favorability, 4 stars. With Divine Lord Peacock's cultivation, how could he trust others easily? However, he couldn't see through Hanju. He couldn't see through Xin and the inauspicious Divine Emperor. When all the unknown gathered together, it would produce endless reverence. Although Divine Lord Peacock was arrogant, he knew that he was not invincible. There was always someone better. Divine Lord Peacock took a deep breath and said, "From now on, I will acknowledge you as my master. I hope you can bring me to a higher level." Hanju and Divine Lord Peacock chatted for a long time. After Divine Lord Peacock returned, under Hanju's instructions, he began to talk about what had happened when he was captured by the inauspicious Divine Emperor. It turned out that the inauspicious Divine Emperor did not hand him over to the evil Heavenly Emperor at all. Instead, he used him to bargain with him. While the two sides were fighting, Divine Lord Peacock escaped. Divine Lord Peacock even asked if Hanju had asked the inauspicious Divine Emperor to let him escape on purpose. This was because the last time the inauspicious Divine Emperor attacked, his strength was much inferior, as if he was severely injured. Hanju only smiled and didn't say anything. Divine Lord Peacock was still very puzzled. Since the evil Heavenly Emperor and the inauspicious Divine Emperor were both working for the Dark Forbidden Lord, why were they fighting among themselves? Hanju asked, "Why are the 3 pure ones divided into 3 branches?" Divine Lord Peacock was silent. No matter what, Hanju accepted Divine Lord Peacock. He let him recuperate first and contact him in the future. After the battle with Xin, Divine Lord Peacock's soul origin had been damaged greatly. He needed time to recuperate. 600 years later, Hanju began to break through. It took him more than 300 years to break through. Awesome! It had been a long time. His dermic powers surged. His soul was elevated. Every breakthrough was a sublimation. At this moment, Hanju felt that his potential was not so mediocre after all. As he consolidated his cultivation, he checked his attributes panel. Name, Hanju. Race, primordial fiend celestial, immeasurable emperor. Cultivation, late stage of the freedom primordial chaos realm, perfect sage. Technique, primordial chaos reincarnation great Tao, heavenly cycle body tempering. Great Tao of life and death, great Tao of karma, great Tao of extreme origin. Not only did his lifespan increase, but it also doubled. Hanju felt that it was a little ridiculous how his lifespan refreshed every time he broke through. Coupled with the Book of Misfortune, he was simply invincible. However, on second thought, he had to break through quickly. If it were anyone else, how could they break through so quickly? Even if he gave the Book of Misfortune to others, once they became addicted, they would be squeezed dry by the book before they could break through and refresh their lifespan. They would die of old age. Hanju felt that he couldn't rely on the Book of Misfortune. He had to reduce his reliance on it. Your good friend Evil Heavenly Emperor was attacked by your enemy, Karma Heaven. He was severely injured. Your son Han Tuo was attacked by your enemy, Karma Heaven. He was severely injured. Your good friend Pen Xin has obtained Pango's inheritance. His cultivation has increased greatly. Your good friend Heavenly Calamity Emperor was cursed by a mysterious curse. Your son Han Tuo was deprived of his body by your enemy, Karma Heaven. His soul was imprisoned. Your good friend Divine Lord Peacock was attacked by an inauspicious evil, X78902922. Your good friend Huang Zuntian has entered the dark forbidden zone. Hanju frowned when he saw Han Tuo's encounter. Karma Heaven! How dare you hurt the Heavenly Emperor and my son? Not only that, but you also took away my son's body. Hanju was worried that Karma Heaven would discover the secret of Han Tuo's body. He immediately took out the Book of Misfortune and started cursing him. Needless to say, he would definitely be killed in one go. Karma Heaven, Great Tao Divine Spirit, formed by the Great Tao of Karma. Later, it was controlled by ancestor Shitian and was deprived of the Great Tao origin. Therefore, it hates the Heavenly Tao. Because you stopped his plan to destroy the Heavenly Tao, it has developed hatred towards you. Current hatred points, 4 stars. Hanju checked Karma Heaven's information again. Not only was he helping the Heavenly Emperor and Han Tuo, but he was also helping the ancestor eliminate a great enemy. 5 days later, Hanju's lifespan began to decrease rapidly. He opened his attributes panel and stared at his lifespan. 100 million years. 1 billion years. 10 billion years. 100 billion years. 1 trillion years. 10 trillion years. 100 trillion years. Hanju continued cursing. His current lifespan was not worth mentioning in his eyes. He suddenly remembered that he had decided to use the Book of Misfortune less. Just this once. One last time. Using it less did not mean he would not use it. After adjusting his state of mind, Hanju focused on cursing. In the dark starry sky, there was a huge oil lamp. Millions of souls floated in the wick. They were imprisoned here and could not escape. Han Tuo and Yi Tian were also among them. Yi Tian said, "Brother, do you find this scene familiar?" Frustrated, Han Tuo was asked in an annoyed tone, "What do you mean?" Back then, when I was suppressed by the Dark Sage King, was it very similar to now? II. Han Tuo couldn't understand Yi Tian's mind. He was still in the mood to joke. The enemy this time was different from the past. Even the evil heavenly emperor was severely injured. Millions of heavenly troops were suppressed here and endured the burning of the lamp. It was a fate worse than death. Han Tuo couldn't help but think of his father. He was his only hope. He said that he wanted to grow up on his own. He didn't expect to need his father's help again. At this moment, the dark starry sky stirred up a cold wind. The lights of the huge oil lamp swayed as the fire increased, causing many heavenly troops to wail. A great pressure descended. Han Tuo actually felt as if his soul was about to dissipate. What happened? Han Tuo was shocked and swept his gaze in all directions. Etion asked carefully, "What does that fellow want?" Han Tuo did not answer him. The huge oil lamp had a mysterious restriction that prevented them from using their divine sense. They could only use their naked eyes to capture it. Humph, what a heavenly court. I didn't expect you to have the backing of the Dark Forbidden Lord. A cold snort sounded. Han Tuo remembered that the other party was the mysterious mighty figure who had suppressed them. Millions of heavenly troops were captured by the other party with a single hand. It was still a nightmare to think about such a mystical power. Since you want to save them, I'll devour their bodies. Because of your curse, your enemy Karma Heaven's Tao heart has wavered. Because of your curse, your enemy Karma Heaven's Tao heart shattered and his cultivation decreased greatly. Your enemy Karma Heaven has devoured 1,000,000 living beings. His bloodline has fused with them and his providence has increased greatly. Seeing the latest emails, Hanju's expression darkened. Could it be that Karma Heaven had eaten Han Tuo? The mental demons of your enemy, Karma Heaven, were born because of your curse. For quadrillion years. Your enemy, Karma Heaven, is affected by your curse. His mental demons are causing trouble. His bloodline is surging and his body was destroyed. Quadrillion years. Aren't you going to die? I don't believe it. I have to kill you. Even if I can't kill you, I have to make sure you can't jump around anymore. Hanju muttered to himself. The black light of the Book of Misfortune flickered, causing his expression to change. He looked very cold, like an evil villain plotting behind the scenes. His lifespan continued to decrease rapidly. Quadrillion years. Your enemy, Karma Heaven, is affected by your curse. Mental demons wreak havoc and his soul is severely injured. Your enemy, Karma Heaven, perished and his soul transformed into the great Tao of Karma. Just like the chaotic deity and Kundi, although they were believed to have died, they were actually still alive. At this moment, the clouds in the sky churned as crimson light filled the sky. It was a spectacular and beautiful sight. Hanju curled his lips when he saw this. What was the heavenly Tao doing? It always mourned for the enemy. If a sage in the heavenly Tao died, the heavenly Tao would not react. Hanju had reason to suspect that the heavenly Tao was a traitor. The heavenly Tao had once given birth to a heavenly Tao spirit and was absorbed by Fang Liang. Hanju suddenly wondered if the heavenly Tao spirit was still around. Hanju didn't calculate. It didn't affect him much anyway. Karma Heaven transformed into the great Tao and was not a threat for the time being. Han Tuo should be able to escape or be saved by the evil heavenly emperor. As for his body, if he couldn't find it, there was nothing he could do. Hanju concluded that many great Tao actually had the same effect, but the exact performance was different. Among the new fiend celestial Dharma idols, the one that left the deepest impression on him was the spatial absorption fiend celestial. It could absorb space. The stronger one's cultivation was, the greater the space they could absorb. As long as they were strong enough, it was not impossible to absorb the entire chaos and fuse it with themselves. Not only could the spatial absorption fiend celestial take away space, but it could also absorb and fuse it into its own power. Hanju felt that if the spatial absorption fiend celestial stayed cautious like him, Pangu might not be able to defeat it. Apart from that, the wondrous technique Fiend Celestial, the flesh Fiend Celestial, and the blood Chi Fiend Celestial also interested Hanju. After receiving a mystical power, the power that the wondrous technique Fiend Celestial could use was extremely abnormal. Hanju felt that the flesh Fiend Celestial was like Pen-Xin, the great Tao that represented the limit of the body. Its attack might not be powerful, but its endurance was heaven-defying. The blood Chi Fiend Celestial burned its blood essence to transform into supreme dermic powers. At the same time, it could seize the blood essence of others. It was extremely domineering. Hanju began the simulation trial to adapt to the new Fiend Celestial Dharma idols. He also wanted to see if the heaven-opening axe, the killing Tao token, and the primordial judgment sword could display greater power in the hands of the Dharma idols. Outside the Surisat RD heaven. In the Universal Hall, the sages sat side by side. Facing them were heavenly venerate Shendu and Pen-Xin. Unlike the seriousness of the sages, Pen-Xin's posture was indecent, sloppy, and rude, like a hooligan in the streets. Pen-Xin, who had transformed into the size of an ordinary person, was still burly. He stood beside heavenly venerate Shendu like an iron tower. His upper body was bare, and his muscles were strong and wild. His white hair was disheveled, and his eyes were like ferocious beasts sweeping across the sages. The sages had unnatural expressions and were a little afraid of him. Shi Dudao and Li Daokong were secretly disdainful. He had only picked up Panga's Providence, not cultivated it himself. They looked down on Pen-Xin because he did not have the demeanor of an expert. Chou Shulai's face twitched, but he did not say anything. Pen-Xin began to scold them one by one. The sages who were scolded looked a little embarrassed. However, Pen-Xin was indeed different from before. They didn't dare to put on airs. Although they were undying and indestructible in the heavenly Tao, what if Pen-Xin kept killing them? Just like how Hanju killed the Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage, causing him to have no choice but to escape and never dare to provoke Hanju again. What if Pen-Xin did the same to them? Pen-Xin looked at Li Daokong, Shi Dudao, and Feng Liang. He thought for a moment and ignored them. Even heavenly venerate Wufa was scolded by him. Don't worry. I'm no longer the same as before. I won't care about the past. From today onwards, I'll protect the heavenly Tao. I won't participate in the battle for Providence, but I only ask for one thing. I want you to ensure that the heavenly Tao's providence continues to increase. If the providence decreases, I'll have to consider establishing a new sage. Pen-Xin snorted, his face filled with arrogance. The sages were silent. Li Daokong suddenly couldn't take it anymore and cursed. Stop acting arrogant. If you're really that strong, why don't you directly sweep through the deity realm of the ruins of End and ensure the heavenly Tao's absolute safety? Pen-Xin glanced at him. I've already swept through the deity realm of the ruins of End. Li Daokong chuckled. Seeing that the argument had affected the hidden sect sage, heavenly venerate Shendu had no choice but to say, since fellow Taoist Pen doesn't care about the past, we'll make peace and protect the heavenly Tao together. After the ancient desolate is broken, the deity realm of the ruins of End will definitely covet the heavenly Tao even more. Fellow Taoist Pan, can you tell us about the situation in the deity realm of the ruins of End? The sages nodded. They were also very curious about the situation there. Pen-Xin said, the deity realm of the ruins of End is indeed in chaos. Those great Tao sages are moving their inheritances out one after another. It's not only the great Tao sages who threaten the heavenly Tao, but also the terrifying existences in the ancient desolate. He began to talk about the ancient desolate. He spoke very seriously, but he looked relaxed and did not take the ancient desolate seriously at all. On the other side, Hanju stayed in the simulation trial for 20 years. Hanju couldn't help but be shocked by Pen-Xin's strength. How did this fellow escape from a group of great Tao sages? At the thought of Pan Xian, Hanju's eyes lit up. He looked up. Pan Xian had indeed entered the heavenly Tao and had even established his own Tao field outside the 33rd heaven. Pangu Hall! How pretentious! Hanju immediately moved to the front of Pangu Hall and used the simulation trial to detect Pan Xian. Almost instantly, he jumped back into the 100-peak immortal river. In the Pangu Hall, Pan Xian opened his eyes. He frowned and muttered, "That aura just now was a little familiar." After returning to the Daoist temple, Hanju immediately entered the simulation trial and challenged Pan Xian. An hour later, he began the second simulation trial. Just as he had guessed, Pan Xian's strength was mainly reflected in his indestructible body. This kind of immortality was even more domineering than the revival of the heavenly Tao. It was impossible to destroy his body. As for the heaven-opening axe, it was too slow and couldn't hurt Hanju at all. If Divine Lord Peacock could dodge, so could he. Hanju used the primordial divine rage to fuse with the power of the Fiend Celestials and finally cut Pan Xian in half. In the end, a green lotus rose and enveloped him, blocking all the attacks. Th Great Chaotic Green Lotus. Not bad. Hanju began to immerse himself in the battle with Pan Xian. 100 years passed in the blink of an eye. Hanju opened his eyes and heaved a sigh of relief. How satisfying! A confident smile appeared on his face again. He had the stellar primordial body and grasped many great Tao mystical powers. He held all sorts of supreme treasures and could always fight across realms. Dale! Not everyone was like Hanju. He also solved his doubts. Pan Xian wasn't powerful enough to resist a group of great Tao sages, but the great Tao sages couldn't hurt him at all. Apart from his powerful body, he also had the 36th grade chaotic green lotus. Similarly, because of the difference in cultivation, he couldn't hurt the great Tao sages. It was probably because they couldn't kill after attacking for a long time that the great Tao sages let Pan Xian go. The battle with Pan Xian made Hanju regain his confidence. Pan Xian could beat the perfected Divine Lord Peacock, and he could also beat Pan Xian. Didn't that mean that Hanju was already invincible in the Freedom Realm? That's right. It was a beating. After more than 10,000 simulation trials, Hanju could already prevent Pan Xian from hurting him at all. He couldn't even touch the corner of his clothes. However, it was very difficult to kill Pan Xian. First, he had to think of a way to break through the strongest defense of the 36th grade chaotic green lotus. Cities had already been built near the 100-peak Immortal River. Under the operation of Li Xianao and Han Zuetian, the number of unnamed disciples of the hidden sect was increasing at a terrifying speed. With the reputation of the immeasurable merit divine might heavenly sage, Li Xianao easily took back the 3 regions. The hidden sect was developing well. In the immortal world, humans became more and more like the heavenly Tao race. Hanju discovered that not only the immortal world, but the providence of the humans in the earth immortal world also became stronger and stronger. Moreover, the providence of the 2 worlds was actually fusing. He counted with his fingers and smiled. Long Hao had improved. He wasn't as rash as before and knew how to use his brain. Hanju took a look at Hanyu. This fellow was still stuck at the 6th mystic divine origin. It was indeed not easy to break through to the Zenith Heaven realm. It could block the path of 90% of the deity realm experts. Ever since Pan Xian returned, the providence of the heavenly Tao had been increasing exponentially. Even the heavenly Tao domain was constantly expanding. How impressive! Thinking of something, Hanju immediately checked Pan Xian's profile picture. Pan Xian, late stage of the Freedom Primordial Chaos Realm, Pangu's reincarnation, one of the first living beings after creation. He has experienced the immeasurable calamity and was playing in the mortal world. Afraid of being discovered by the ancient master of calamity, he especially infiltrated the Sword Dao River. Because of your nature, he is interested in you. Current favorability, 3 stars. Gasp. Late stage of the Freedom Primordial Chaos Realm. Last time, he was only a Primordial Chaos Zenith Heaven Golden Immortal. Wasn't his strength growing too quickly? 150 billion years will be deducted. Do you want to continue? Continue. Detected that Pan-Xion's body contains karma that exceeds the system's current limit. It is corroding his soul bit by bit until the reincarnation process ends. Hanju remained silent. He suddenly began to pity Pan-Xion. In the end, you're still a pawn. Perhaps Pan-Xion did not even realize this and was still immersed in powerful joy. How long will this process take? 150 billion years will be deducted. Do you want to continue? Continue. Can't deduce it accurately. With the current transformation speed of his soul, it will take at least 100 million years. 100 million years. Hanju frowned. If Pangu descended into the heavenly Tao, it would not be safe. Pangu, Tao ancestor, what are you guys plotting? Hanju fell into deep thought. These two transcendent existences were trying their best to revive. It was really strange. It seemed that the great Tao immeasurable calamity was not groundless. It would even involve all the supreme experts since ancient times. Hanju couldn't figure it out, so he stopped thinking about it. In the darkness, an old Taoist slowly walked forward. Lotus flowers bloomed under his feet and space fluctuated. It was Ancestor Shitian. Ancestor Shitian looked forward expressionlessly. After an unknown period of time, he suddenly stopped. There was still darkness ahead, and nothing could be seen. Ancestor Shitian said, "Why did you transform into the Great Tao? This isn't your style." As soon as he finished speaking, a venomous voice sounded, "Shitian, tell me the truth. Are you the Dark Forbidden Lord?" "Dark Forbidden Lord?" Ancestor Shitian asked in surprise. "You were cursed by the Dark Forbidden Lord? Why did he do that? Before this, what did you do and who did you target?" The vicious voice sounded again. "Humph, still pretending? I only captured people from the heavenly court." Ancestor Shitian did not turn around or answer. He seemed old but extremely determined. 1,000 years passed. Hanju originally wanted to enter seclusion until his 200,000th birthday, but considering that Li Xian'eo had been waiting outside the Dao field for a long time, he still stopped cultivating. He moved him into the Taoist temple. Li Xian'eo waited for more than 10 years and finally saw Hanju. He heaved a sigh of relief. He didn't think too much about it. He knew that Hanju was used to going into seclusion for 1,000 years. Before the 1,000 years were up, even a sage could forget about seeing him. "Sect Master, now that the hidden sect..." Li Xian'eo began to report the situation. The number of outer disciples had already exceeded 10 million. There was a threshold for the hidden sect to recruit disciples. They had to be at least a Grand Unity Heaven Immortal. Apart from recruiting disciples, many sage sects and races also took the initiative to express their goodwill. During this period of time, many geniuses appeared among the hidden sect disciples outside the 100-peak Immortal River. Li Xian'eo was very excited after receiving the answer. Although the Dark Forbidden Zone was empty, too many experts had died there over the years. This was an opportunity. In addition, there were also some secret realms and dimensional spaces hidden in the Dark Forbidden Zone. They were all things that were helpful for the development of a faction. To sages, such an arrangement could help the Heavenly Tao understand the chaos more effectively and even know some potential enemies in advance. Although there were battles in the immortal world, the overall situation was very peaceful. In such a golden age, cultivation talent was the easiest to stand out. Without battles, geniuses could grow better. Many geniuses also appeared on the heavenly Tao Providence board. Time passed. 1,000 years later, words appeared in front of Hanju. Detected that you are already 200,000 years old and your life has taken another step forward. You have the following choices. 1. Leave the heavenly Tao immediately and spread the name of the primordial fiend celestial in the chaos. You can obtain a great Tao fragment, a heavenly Tao spirit stone, a creation spirit stone, a chance to upgrade the Tao field, a mystical power inheritance, and a supreme treasure. 2. Cultivate in a low-profile manner and stay away from the chaos. You can obtain a great Tao fragment, a creation spirit stone, and a supreme treasure. As expected of a choice that could only be triggered once every 100,000 years. The reward was still very generous. Hanju maintained his original intention and silently chose the second option. You chose to cultivate in a low-profile manner and stay away from the chaos. You obtained a great Tao fragment, a creation spirit stone, and a supreme treasure. Congratulations on obtaining the chaotic supreme treasure Time Tao robe. Time Tao robe, defensive chaotic supreme treasure. A defensive supreme treasure condensed from the power of time. It can defend against attacks from great Tao existences. Defend against the attack of great Tao existences? Hanju was delighted. He liked defensive Dharma treasures the most. Pan Xian's 36th grade chaotic green lotus made him extremely envious. What a harvest! Hanju immediately took out the Time Tao robe and prepared to make it recognize him as its master. This method was different from other Dharma treasures, but to Hanju, it was not difficult. After putting on the robe, Hanju felt even more handsome. He retracted his freedom divine light and the divine light of the sun and moon yin-yang protection, revealing his peerless appearance. In the past, he felt that the divine light all over his body was very impressive. Now, he was a little tired of it. No wonder even an existence like the ancestor had returned to his original state. Hanju started the simulation trial. His opponent was still Pan Xian. He stood and let Pan Xian slash him. After an hour, Hanju finally felt bored. Pan Xian couldn't break through his defense at all. Hanju continued to challenge Ancestor Shitian. The ancestor was also unable to break through his defense, but Hanju couldn't kill him either. He could only say that there was a 50-50 chance. Hanju experienced the feeling of Pan Xian facing a group of great Tao sages. It was really satisfying. Hanju continued to change opponents. He discovered that all the experts in the simulation trial could not break through the Time Tao robe's defense. Sigh. It was so lonely to be invincible. Hanju felt that he was too arrogant, but his opponent was only like this. He had no choice. He placed his attention on the Fiend Celestial Chi in the primordial world and began to choose the chaotic Fiend Celestial he was about to nurture. If I nurture the Strength Fiend Celestial, will Pengu notice? Hanju asked in his mind. 200 billion years of lifespan will be deducted. Do you want to continue? Continue. He was mainly asking about the Strength Fiend Celestial and not Pengu himself. Yes. Hanju immediately dismissed this thought. He couldn't provoke Pengu for the time being. Hanju finally decided to use the Creation Spirit Stone on the Time Fiend Celestial. The creation process required time. Hanju focused on Xing Hongxian next door. Her abdomen had already swelled slightly, but she still didn't look pregnant. That brat was still in her womb. Hanju finally understood. The connate primordial Fiend Celestial was different from the postnatal primordial Fiend Celestial, just like the difference between the heavenly constellation Fiend Celestial and Murong Chi. Hanju was a postnatal primordial Fiend Celestial who had transformed. Han Tuo was still in the process of transformation. He looked forward to his youngest son's talent after he was born. To prevent any accidents, he decided to give Xing Hongxian an absolute purification every few days to prevent some supernatural existences from plotting against him.